Hi guys, good evening and welcome back once again to the EdWord. I'm your host Eddie, and in tonight's video I will be discussing what I thought of the latest and very entertaining episode of Star Trek Lower Decks, which dropped its newest episode last week, this past Thursday. I was out of town, so I didn't have a chance to watch it, but I did finally watch it recently, and I enjoyed it very much. But if you're like me and you're behind on Lower Decks by this episode or the past couple episodes, you don't want to keep watching or listening, as I will be discussing spoilers, plot details, character stuff, all that jazz. That being said, you have been warned. Let's dive right back into it. First and foremost, so nice to see a familiar race again like the Betazoids. Such an overall, most of the time, pleasant, lovely people. But in this case, I guess they have their own intelligence agency, that they're Betazoid intelligence or something like that, because apparently these three were agents who were undercover posing as diplomats, hitching a ride on the Cerritos, and they were trying to figure out who's been destroying these different ships throughout the quadrant, because we've had this mysterious vessel destroy a Klingon, a Romulan, and now an Orion ship. And it seems like it's come to the attention of the Betazoids. And by the end of the episode, they shared their intel with Captain Freeman and the crew of the Cerritos. So now the crew is at least somewhat aware of the new threat that's out there and what it's capable of for the most part. Well, maybe not what it's capable of, but they're at least aware of the threat that is now out there in the quadrant that they will probably come across and run afoul of very shortly. I did enjoy the twist in this episode, which was you think it would be Zenkethi fever, or whatever they call it, Xanthi fever, which is what when a Betazoid of a certain age can unknowingly project their emotions onto others and get everybody emotionally riled and triggered up and whatnot, as we saw in an episode of Star Trek Deep Space Nine from years ago. But apparently that wasn't the case, where it wasn't the Betazoids at all that was making the whole crew act out and freak out and whatnot. It turned out it was Talin's own unease that was causing the crew to freak out. Like, she was projecting her own emotional instability onto the crew, unknowingly, of course, much like what Sarek, Spock's father, did in that very memorable episode of Star Trek The Next Generation, when he visited the Enterprise, was experiencing the early onset signs of an illness, which resulted in the crew getting all emotionally triggered and riled up in various different ways all over the ship, putting the ship at risk. So that was a fun twist, because I immediately thought, oh, well, it's obviously the Betazoids. They're either doing it on purpose or on accident. But then when it turned out it wasn't them, I'm like, oh, then what or who is causing this? Talin, of course. Yes, her own emotional uneasiness is causing this, unknowingly, of course. So that was a fun twist, and this was a rather fun episode. I liked seeing everybody so riled up and out of control with themselves. I mean, Mariner regained her control by the end of this episode because she was able to talk Talin down, basically. I do love how they continue to poke fun at the fact that Talin seemingly never shows emotion, but she's such an out of control for a Vulcan, which makes it all the more hysterical that she's not like emotional at all. Like, she hides it very well, but Vulcans consider her wild and erratic and whatnot. So that alone just added to an already comedic premise, which made the whole episode very, very funny. So I liked it a lot. This was a good episode. It was entertaining. It was hilarious. It had some great character moments. Mariner and Talin having a heart-to-heart about Talin being distressed over not being able to communicate with her old ship and her old captain, and doubting herself as a Vulcan, if she's Vulcan enough, and Mariner boosting her confidence back up, saying, of course, you're a Vulcan, you're Vulcan enough, and whatnot. And then the Betazoids, after they calmed down and didn't take the crew hostage, sharing their intel with Captain Freeman about the mysterious vessel, obviously set us up for a tease that, they set us up for a tease that I'm sure will pay off later down the road when the crew eventually, inevitably, deals with this mysterious vessel. And whomever's controlling it. So we'll see what happens there. But overall, I liked this episode a lot. Like I said, very entertaining, amusing, great twist halfway through it with the reveal that it was T'Lyn and not the Betazoids that was making everyone go nuts. So again, very, very good episode. I think I liked it. No, I liked the previous episode too, with the Tendi and the girls going to Orion for her sister's wedding. That was a pretty great episode too. So both episodes have been pretty solid, I would say. What do you guys think? What did you think of the latest episode of Lower Decks? Did you like it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Were you expecting more, expecting less? Let me know what your thoughts are down below in the comments section. Have a wonderful rest of your night. Star Trek Lower Decks drops new episodes every Thursday on Paramount Plus. Have an awesome rest of your night, everyone. Thanks for watching. And of course, until next time, live long and prosper.